allow changes to local extensions of global records. So this one is for network zone institutions. Let's say you're a member of a network, and you're looking at a record that belongs to someone else in the network zone. It's not a local record, it's a global record. So you have the ability to edit that record locally in your institution. And basically that's called adding a local extension to the global record. And if you run a normalization routine on a record like this, then some of its fields are global fields. Those are the fields that, as they appear in the network zone record. And some of them are the fields that you changed and added locally. Those are called local extensions. So a normalization routine will not affect the global fields, but will affect the local fields. So let's take a look at such a record in Alma, and we'll see how we run a normalization routine to change it, and we'll see that the routine will only affect the local fields and not the global fields. Okay, so I'm in a member institution of a network zone, and let's search for a record, bibliography of the history of art. We have two results here, and you can see that these are network zone records. And if I want to edit this one, bibliography of the history of art, most of these fields are global fields, but I have one field that I added locally, this 940 field. Okay, and subfield A says local extension field. All I had to do was search for a network zone record, click on edit, and I have the ability to add these local fields. If I wanted to right now, I could click F8 and add another field. But I'm not going to do that now. One local field is enough. And I want to show you now what happens if I run a normalization routine that's going to try to change this local field and also try to change a global field, right? So, for example, the title, the 245 field, subfield A, bibliography of the history of art, this field is a global field. This one should not be affected by normalization routines. And this local field here, 940, should be affected. So let's take a look at my rules, normalization rules. I'm just going to show you the rule that I want to run. Okay, so I've created this rule beforehand, change 245 and 940. And what this rule does, it's going to add a 1 to the second indicator. Okay, let's take a look at that. Change second indicator of the field 245 to 1, and change second indicator of 940 to 1. Okay? So let me just show you on the record what that would do. You see here where the second indicator field here is 0. So this will change to 1. But it won't change because it's a global field. But that's what the normalization routine will attempt to do. And additionally, the normalization routine will attempt to change the second indicator of the 940 field over here to 1. Okay, I'm not going to do that now. I'm purposely leaving this one empty. So we have two fields that are going to be changed by the normalization routine, the 940 field and the 245. And what we expect Alma to do is update the local extension and leave the global field untouched. So let's run the normalization routine on this record. Okay, so to run the job, Alma menu, run a job, and the type of job we want to run is Mark 21 bib normalization. And I've created a job here that runs the rule I showed you before, which changes 245 and 940 fields. Next. And the set, I've pre-created a set here that includes this one item. All it is a set of items that has one record in it, the one that I've showed you. Okay, local extension set, select the set, next. And the normalization routine, the rule, that was the one I showed you before, that changes the 245 and the 940 field, next. And we want to run this job as soon as possible. Okay, so submit. Monitor jobs. Okay, so the job is now running. We'll refresh. It's no longer running. Let's take a look at completed. Change 245 and 940 fields. Completed successfully. Let's look at the report. Records processed 1. Records with exception 0. Okay, so we ran the normalization routine. And now let's go back to the metadata editor. Right, bibliography, the history. And let's see if the fields changed as we expected them to. Edit. Okay, so first we can see the 245 field did not change. It was 0 and it's still 0. So bibliography of the history of art, the second indicator, did not change. Now let's look at the local record. 940 field did change. The second indicator is now 1, just as the normalization rule prescribed. So, to summarize, normalization routines can update and change, and delete, or any change you want, local extension fields, but they don't affect the global fields. And in previous releases of Alma, basically any local fields you had would just disappear, and it would revert back to the global record as it was. So now the local extensions can be updated and changed via the normalization routines. So that is allow global changes on local extensions.